work session. It's been one of those days. Somebody told me there was a full moon over the weekend, and I believe it. I'm going to tell you. Mr. Bishop will lead our prayer.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the blessings that you bestowed upon us and watching over our last night and this morning's rising. We ask that you continue to be with the employees of our city and as they go about their daily work and service that they do for our community. We ask that you be with our community as a whole, be with those that are sick and shut in, those families who are going through bereavement, and comfort them and send your comforting angel to be with those families. We ask that you be with this body as we do the business that you would have us to do. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, next June, we don't have to.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
First on our agenda tonight is Melinda Ramos. You want to step up to the podium and tell us who you are and what you want to talk about?
Hi, I'm Ed Ramos. This is my wife, Melinda Ramos. We've been in Hardin County now for like 17 years. And we're here today. We have a what they call a stereo competition business. What she's passing out there is just like a brief overview of what we do.
No, it's fine. We share.
We're here today. We've been hosting these shows at Freeman Lake now for the past 11 years. This is actually our 11th season. And our last show in June, we got a call from the lake. His name was Robert. I don't know his last name. It wasn't Chuck, but it was Robert, and he was saying that I guess they had a lot of complaints. And he said that we would have to come before the city council before we could host any more shows at Freeman Lake.
And how many times a year have you done this?
We do this, we've been doing it since 2004, and we normally do anywhere from 6 to 5 shows a year at Freeman Lake. But we do them also in Ohio, we do them in Owensboro, we do them in Louisville. We just did one in Louisville yesterday, Somerset. So we do them in other places. But since we live in E-Town, we like to bring the people here to our home.
We have no members that actually live in the city of E-Town, so they consider this their neutral territory, and everybody likes to come here, bring their families. They'll actually get hotel rooms, stay the actual weekend.
They love the lake.
It's a nice, good central location.
Yes, they love the lake. And we do shows sometimes here in town, like we did one at Hair Depot with John and Robin Novitz. We did some at Blue Sonics at the stereo shop down on 62. But the lake just seems to be more free and bigger for everybody to enjoy. So that's why we picked the lake.
I have a question. What is a stereo contest?
You ever hear those? You ever sit in your house and you hear those people go down the street, boom, 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 boom?
Boombox?
Yeah.
In the car. Yes.
So what we do is we actually give them a controlled environment to where they pull up, and we actually got sensors that we test in their vehicle, and it tells them their decibel level. So what it does is the loudest person wins.
They're classed by division, by how many subs they have, what kind of vehicle they have.
Okay.
And they're not the members of the community going down the street that you're hearing boom booming. These guys are professionals. They take care of their systems. Their vehicles most of the time are not even, on the road because they're filled with concrete and batteries, and it's just not the gas mileage. They can't drive them on a daily basis. So
Some of them's pretty loud.
Yeah, the reason that I have colors in my hair is the bass in the vehicles is so strong that I can actually sit in there with hearing protection and it fans my hair. We do videos and post them all over the web and, you know, give the guys a little bit of encouragement. Well, I wear hearing protection.
Yeah, she wears hearing protection.
I wear hearing protection.
Yeah.
And all of our members, they're all required to wear hearing protection. And we always promote family events. All the music that they play at every event has to be edited. Even while they're demoing, while they're competing, we require edited music. If the music is not edited, they're disqualified for their run. We have little kids that build systems and Power Wheels that come up and compete with us in their little systems and operate like their parents, and they get money and they get trophies just like their parents.
How many entries in a typical tournament?
Usually about 30.
And how many minutes do each one of those contestants play their loud music?
About a minute.
We run 2 cars at a time.
So we knock 2 out at the same time.
Just based on what I have observed out there, doesn't the number of people that participate vary and fluctuate quite a bit?
Some days you might have 6.
Right.
Some days you might have 36.
Some days you may have 30, some days you may have 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on what I have.
But we have never had a lake show under, I would say, 20 people.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, and that's with multiple entries. We're talking like 40 entries because one person can come in and do multiple classes with the divisions that we have.
And now they're bringing their kids with their little systems too.
Let me ask, are the complaints coming from people that are there at the lake? Like if Ron Thomas out there fishing, he can't catch any fish because it's too loud, or is it people that live across the lake in the homes? Do we know?
I'm thinking that most of the last show, Robert was telling me they mostly come in from the people at the lake that was driving by. There was like a reunion that day. And
does it drive the geese away?
No.
No, it does not.
Hear it everywhere.
Let me tell you that you've been doing it 11 years.
Yes.
11 years.
When I saw this last week, I started asking about it. Charlie's been here 40 years and never knew anything about it.
Really?
Nobody knew anything about it. So what suddenly?
We're not
That's
sure.
what we want to
and
know.
even we talked to the lake manager, Chuck Sprinkle, and he is not even sure where it's coming from. He's telling us that he has no problem with what we do. He knows we operate a controlled environment. You know, they're not out there. Everybody in the parking lot is not out playing their systems. The ones that are in the lanes that we're actually testing are the only ones that are running their system. We do give them demo time at the end of the day and let them show their system off, but that's maybe 10 minutes tops.
Just based on a casual observation and audio thing, and I'm out there frequently.
Yeah.
It just seems to me, and I'm not complaining, I'm just saying, it seems to me like in the last couple of years, the technology has improved such that you used to be able to feel the road vibrate right there at the pavilion when you all cranked up. It seems now that you can feel the road vibrating down at the barn when you crank those. I mean, it's a tremendous volume of
So
sound.
you did know about it.
Oh yeah, yes.
How come Charlie and
I mean, they have been doing it for
11
years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Parents
This is
are
our
always the
11th
last
year.
to know.
Obviously. Chief, have you gotten complaints?
I am not in favor of that. I've never been a topic to come up in great conversation. A, we've had, nor has this section made an issue contact. We can look into that.
Well, based on what I know, I think the last complaint, and I heard about it after it was over, did not come from people within the lake. You said that, Robert said that it did. It was my understanding that it came from the people that live in the subdivision.
There is another organization that hosts kind of what we do, and that we were part of them originally, but split with them and started our own organization. They were still hosting shows at the lake also, but it looks like the rest of their shows, they went ahead and moved somewhere else, so they're not going to approach you guys. You know, but our members are, you know, they love Freeman Lake, so we, you know, promised them we would make an effort to come to you guys and present what we have and let you guys make it.
But you're saying that the number of participants hasn't greatly increased in the last?
Oh, actually, we're down from our last company we worked with. We used to have 60 to 70 cars at the lake.
Yeah, I
now
can
we're down
remember.
to like 30 something. Yeah, because we started our own little business.
Is this your business or is this a?
Well,
hobby?
it was a hobby, but we turned it into a business.
We've been
because
licensed.
we're going other places now.
We've been licensed with the city of E-Town ever since we started for 11 years.
And I suppose then you guys are asking us for permission
Yeah.
to continue to hold
Yes.
your events at
Right.
Freeman Lake.
I've attached on the back, there's a flyer for our next 2 shows. Actually, our Freeman Lake show is on there too.
When's the next one after August 3rd?
August the 3rd, and then we got one October 4th and 5th. Those are our last 3.
Would August the 3rd be a typical show?
August 3rd is a typical show.
If we were to grant you permission to do August 3rd, and then we all became familiar with it, is that a typical show for us?
Yes, and
It's
it's
a-
the funnest show.
It's a little, not quite typical, because that show is our 6th annual Womanless Beauty Contest, where the male competitors actually dress up like women and compete for cash during a beauty contest. And
Yes, Marty, you want to MC that one?
so, it's not exactly
An hour,
typical.
anybody's welcome to dress up as long as you're a man.
Jerry Shadoan, do you have something to add on this since you kind of,
My
Working
understanding
the lake
from
now?
Robert Mullins was that there was
Robert?
a couple of complaints. There was a family reunion in the park that I think we had to refund, because they were complaining. We have signs up saying no loud noise and no loud music, actually, not
Yeah.
noise, no loud music. And then across the lake, from the subdivision, like
Yeah.
Councilman Thomas said,
There were,
there were multiple complaints that day.
So we
I
didn't.
think there were 2 requests for refunds that day.
Yeah, so we didn't communicate with anybody that had rented a pavilion to say, hey, listen, we want you to know that you can rent this pavilion. We do want to let you know that this is already scheduled out here. You will hear it.
There's an event going on, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what, when we first started scheduling the events, we went through everything and made sure that the lake officials knew exactly what we were doing and, got the special permission from Chuck to host the events.
If Pat, you all still are you scheduling the lake, or is the lake scheduling the lake? Lake schedules the lake, okay.
If I could just, what I would suggest, I think, and I hate to use the term give permission, because I don't think this body ought to get involved in every event that takes place out there. I mean, there are standard things that we do out there, and they don't come before this group. But I think if the lake knows in advance, a year in advance, like people rent the pavilions, if you all know in advance when a thing is going to be held, where we can inform people that rent the pavilions, rather than just, saying we'd like one now 2 months away and then 2 months away. I think if we know in advance, we can tell people, and there are limited numbers. I think that's acceptable to
In
everybody.
January, we're actually,
Yeah, we
every
stay at the
January,
Pritchard
we're in
Center.
line
Yeah,
every
for the lake days.
So this is not one where we've already got a family reunion scheduled at the pavilion, and then all of a sudden we come in and register this event a couple weeks before.
Well, but we might have some conflicts with this one, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There will
Yeah.
probably be conflicts with that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what I would suggest we do is follow that up, is to contact the people that have pavilions rented, let them know that that's on there, and offer them an alternative date, possible, to reschedule.
And yeah, and I think that would be acceptable. It's unlikely that
Since we're already
with
where we
booking,
are.
right, that we might not have good alternative dates, but
But for this year, your dates are already booked?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we booked
Yeah.
them in January.
And we would like permission to continue at the lake for future, seasons.
Y'all have like a pavilion area.
Yeah.
yeah.
We normally get the big pavilion, like when I was talking to Robert and Chuck, they said, we're their biggest customer as far as renting, because like I said, we normally get 6 to 7 dates.
You're shaking your head.
Yeah.
Chuck says they are the largest.
Is that right?
And we've been doing it for 11 years, and that's why they wanted us to come and talk to you all about it.
How loud is loud?
Well, the loudest we have ever
Loud.
tested
You two.
was 180 dB.
Whoa.
That's twice the limit.
Now, we've never had that person at our show, because that's like a $300,000
We do
vehicle.
that when we have the ducks or.
Now, if we can get them around the geese, we could probably chase them off.
When we have our blues box and barbecue and the Harleys come in and they're really revving it up and really making it loud, does that even compare?
No.
It-
Actually,
that's
they're
about-
It
loud.
does. It actually does. We've metered exhaust on Harleys before at shows.
And they're
We
louder.
did a show, WWJD show at the lake with a church, and they
You've been
had street
overridden.
rods
3 or
and
4 people shook
motorcycles.
their heads.
Yeah,
no,
but
as soon
those
as I say-
motorcycles are
metered 'em.
illegal, because I know Harleys, they usually average about 110 decibel, 115. 115 at the loudest.
Oh, we've had them 120,
Then they're
124.
absolutely illegal.
Yeah, they're definitely illegal.
They are. I
Yeah.
think Chief
How many
Schiller
times
can
did you
speak
all
to
book
that.
it this year?
We booked it 6 dates this year.
6 dates?
Yeah, and we got 3 more left.
Good grief.
And like next weekend, we're actually part of Litchfield's Freedom Fest, and they've had it. This is our 5th year that we've been down there for their Freedom Fest, and then the actual mayor of Mumpersville, he's wanting us to come down and host a show in Mumpersville at that little park down by the lake, because he's heard his employees talk about what they do, like a hobby, and he's like, I've never seen that. I want to see it. And, yeah, or hear it.
Yeah.
And then we're booked for the Grayson County Fair also this year, which is our first time for the fair.
Okay. So gentlemen, fine for this year and then decide on what you want to do about the
I
future.
think we have to.
Because
yeah.
it isn't just people that are booked there, obviously the neighbors now.
Exactly.
So
And you guys are
What
more
did
than
you say,
welcome to
Terry?
come out to a show. Check it out.
It's gone on for a long
11
time.
years.
Yes, it has.
But there are complaints now.
But I think what has happened is, like, we're doing 6 shows, and then there's another company coming in doing 7 or 8 shows, so you got a total of like 14. And like, we're the ones here talking to you to keep our shows, but I think they've done rescheduled theirs and got a refund.
They have.
You know, and we
Our
really love
members
the lake.
push us, and our members push us because they love the lake. They love to bring their families to the lake. They just turn their kids loose. Everybody watches everybody else's kids. They play on the playground. They play on the
They
volleyball.
like the way that sound, Travis.
Yes.
I
And there's
agree.
plenty of room to get away from it. You know, if somebody brings their mom or their grandma with them just because she wants to be at the lake, she can go down and sit in another pavilion, sit by the lake, and be plenty, far away from the systems.
I agree with you. I think we have to, we're committed for this year. We've made that, but that it ought to be reviewed for next year.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to take something to the lake, or just tell Chuck, or?
I think
That can be
Terry will
relayed.
take care of that.
Okay, so we can hit our next 3 shows. Any of you all are more than welcome to come to Freeman Lake on August 3rd.
It will be a sight.
August 3rd.
Ron, it's election year. You sure you don't want to dress up as a lady?
Ernie Williams, it's the Ernie Williams Pavilion, and we're 11 to 5 or 6.
And you do furnish earplugs.
Oh, we actually got headphones for each competitor, because
It's a
we can't
requirement.
allow them to get in there.
It's a requirement. They know if they're sitting inside their vehicle, they come up and get their own headphones, take them back, and then bring them back up and return
No,
them.
I meant for us. You
Yeah,
Oh,
we're on
yeah.
the outside of the
Hey, we got you.
I always keep a whole bag of earplugs for spectators, anybody that wants them, so yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You for hearing us. We really appreciate it.
Mr. Talley?
There's a lot of ways to make a
No, that was one of them. That's new to me.
For 11 years. Hey, how you doing?
I'm Mr. Talley.
No, you're not Mr. Talley, Mr. Bell.
I'm Mr. Dilly Dally. We were thinking back many years ago, Charlie, Dave Wilmuth, and JJ and myself came, and we sat down and said, our district is growing, and we're afraid that we're going to present a problem to your all's district or your all's water, and we didn't want to do that. And so we told Mayor Wilmuth, and we're here to help you. And we seriously and honestly meant that. We came back and met with Mayor Walker and said, we're here. This is the only source that we can find is Louisville Water. We looked at going to Ohio and doing our own. We looked at other sources. We had a source at Roundstone that we were going to develop, and found out that the Division of Water would let us take 12 million gallon out of the river. We thought it was 12 million at Roundstone and 8 million at White Mills. Well, it was 12 million total, so that wasn't worth the deal. So we kept coming, and we feel that we have reached with your letter of intent and you're all agreeing to work with us. And Mo, and by the way, you all know that Tim Davis and Mo Miller and John Effinger are on the board, and JJ, our manager, and Damon Talley, our attorney. And they've all worked diligently with you all, and you all worked diligently with us. And I want to thank the city council, but also your staff, because your staff has been more than cooperative. We have had a team down at the treatment plant learning your system and doing. You all have been more than cooperative, and the information, we want to treat and do everything we can fairly for you and District 2's customers. So we're here to help. Our goal has not changed. Our purpose has not changed. We're here to help. And this is the way that we feel best helps and best serves. And we are going to be converting to Louisville Water. We're hoping to do that within the year in January. We're hoping to switch over to chloramine. All these things, you know, are depending on some approvals and some other things, but we're hoping to do that, have Louisville Water as a backup and to supply our needs. But I know you all got some questions. I know that Damon's provided you and Dee Dee with some information, and so we're here to answer your questions. But again, Mayor, Council, I want to reiterate that we're here to help. We're here to serve and to make it advantageous for all E-Town and Hardin County. And we don't have a hidden agenda. I promise you that.
Thank you, Mike. Now, Mr. Tapp.
Thank you, Chairman Bell and Mayor and council members. Does each of you have the one-page overview that was provided? If you don't, I have some extra copies, or if you forgot to, it's just the, and then there's
the whole.
Okay. And there's a one-page overview that uses. I've got some copies if anybody else needs it. Okay. What I'd like to do is to briefly just go over the topics on the overview, which will trigger some questions about the agreement. And I want to point out some places in the agreement that might be of interest to you, and then address any questions. And some of them Chairman Bell will need to answer. Some of the operational questions JJ might need to answer, and but we'll just go from there. First is the transitional rates. Paragraph 16 of the agreement on page 18 talks about the transitional rates. And if you'll recall, when I was here in January, that was the big topic because the council was concerned about softening the transition between the existing city customers' rates and the district's rates. And the council adopted an ordinance on page 18, paragraph 16. We spent quite a bit of time in doing this because we've got to get this pushed through the Public Service Commission. And I think by laying out the basis and the reason for transitioning the existing rates of your existing customers up to the district's rate, I know that's important to you, and it's important to our customers, and the PSC will be looking at that probably more closely than anything else. But I feel like by laying a foundation for that in this agreement and explaining why that's important and how we've transitioned, I feel like that gives us the best chance for getting this approved by the Public Service Commission. And later on in the agreement, you'll see that if the Public Service Commission does not agree with the district adopting your rates for your city customers, that you can back out of the deal. That's one of the two conditions in there of this. Assuming that we reach this agreement, the Public Service Commission has to approve our incurring the debt, and then two, they have to approve the district adopting your set of rates that you adopted by ordinance in February for your existing city customers. Okay. Next thing is the consideration. Of course, it's just like it was set out in the letter of intent, $8 million to be paid $400,000 a year over 20 years. And that's in here in the consideration there on. And then the second part of the consideration, as shown in paragraph 5, is the city continues to keep the revenue from all your cell tower leases. You've got several leases on some of the tanks that the district, I think there's 6 leases on the tanks that the district will be acquiring, and you will continue to get that revenue for the next 20, I think maybe most of them are 20 to 25 years left on that revenue stream for those leases. The third thing is exactly what is the district buying? Well, the district is just getting the water system only, not the wastewater, not the gas, just the water only. And then starting on page 4, where I outline the assets that the district is requiring. And I start at the source, and then I go to the treatment plant, and then I go to the tanks and the distribution system. But if you'll notice there at the bottom of page 4 under paragraph 2A, City Spring, the district is just getting the right to withdraw water from the city spring, not the spring, just the right to withdraw water from it. Same way about Gaither Spring. And then I list the wells as a source of water, and then we talk about the right to use the treatment facilities and the other facilities down at the city springs. Then we talk about the tanks. Starting on page 8, there's I think the city has 7 tanks, and the water district is just going to be acquiring the right to use 5 of these tanks. The Helmwood tank, Pear Orchard tank, which is on North Miles, Mulberry tank, the Industrial Park tank on Peterson Drive, and then the South End tank. Those 5 tanks. The Oaklawn tank and the Hawkins Drive tank over by I-65. Our engineers have done a study, a feasibility study, examined the assets, and did hydraulic analysis to make sure that we could successfully blend the 2 systems together, because you'll have several pressure zones, and we just have one in this area around the city. So, and they told us what Charlie already said: you don't need these 2 tanks, and Charlie was right, and JJ conferred. So there's 2 tanks, the Oaklawn tank and the other tank that we will not need. Then, so you've heard the expression, we get everything except the kitchen sink. Well, in this case, I've thrown in the kitchen sink as well, but there's excluded are the assets that are listed there in item 4, excluded assets. And on page 12 of the agreement, in paragraph 4, excluded assets, it lists the big things that we're not getting. The Oaklawn tank, you get will remain yours. The Hawkins Drive tank over in I-65, the Oaklawn booster pump station, and then water well number 5. That's down near your old wastewater lagoon, and the city uses that at the multi-purpose storage facility down there. So that one will not be transferred to the district. And then, of course, the motor vehicles and lawnmowers and ATVs and other things like that, we will not be acquiring title to. And then, of course, the revenue from the cell tower leases, that you will continue to keep that. Now then, number 5 is the fire protection standards. On page 16 of the agreement, we've got a paragraph in there, paragraph 12 at the bottom of that page. Historically, the district has had joint projects where we work with the city, and also for subdivision developments that were within the water district's territory but inside the existing city limits. Historically, the water district has had the developers that, listen, you've got to develop this according to the city's fire standards in your fire code and in your subdivision regulations. And that's what this paragraph is for, is to confirm and reconfirm that the district is going to continue to do just what we've been doing, and to require the developers, if they want to develop something inside the city limits, it's got to be done to the city's fire standards. Fire hydrants have to be spaced more closely than they do out in the county, and those sorts of things, because that's important to you and for your citizens, and we respect that, and will be contractually obligated to continue to do what we've been doing. Next item is the regulatory agency approvals, and that's mentioned on page 17 under paragraph 13 there. The district will take the lead. We've already talked about Public Service Commission, having to get Public Service Commission approval. Division of Water approval will be required. FCC license transfer will be required, and we'll have to work together to get that done because of the SCADA system or the telemetry system that regulates the tanks and the pumps. Then on the next page, on page, well, it starts at the bottom of page 17, paragraph 14, the joint projects. We've had, again, a great working relationship over the years between the district and the city on doing joint projects. If y'all needed to do something to enhance fire protection or fire flows in a certain area, typically the district would provide the materials and the labor, and the city would pay for, I didn't say that right. The city would do the materials, and the district would furnish the labor and equipment to install that. And again, the agreement will require the district to continue to do that. Now, the next thing is a perpetual lease. You'll see on, and we'll back up to page 14, paragraph 7, and page 14. When we started this process, it was important to the city that the city continue to own the assets. I know you want to own the water treatment plant, and we will just have a perpetual lease to operate the facilities there at the water treatment plant and withdraw water from the city spring and Gaither Spring. In the process of going through this, it looked like that as far as these 5 tank sites were concerned that were located at various places around the city on a small tract of land, just barely big enough for the tank to sit on, it looked like when we talked about the liability and who was going to be responsible in the future and who would get sued or wouldn't get sued if you had an overflow of the tanks and flooded somebody's property or their basement, or heaven forbid if a tank were to collapse. And we kicked around the idea of maybe it might be better for these 5 sites for the district to take legal title to those because there's just a small parcel of land. So you may want to defer to DD on this, but we kicked around that. So everything with 2 exceptions, the way the agreement is, everything with 2 exceptions will be a perpetual lease. And the first exception is what we're proposing of these 5 tanks, that the district would actually get legal title, get a deed to these 5 tanks so that the city would not be sued if were something happened because of the operation of the tanks. And then the second exception is the Freeman Lake water treatment plant itself. We think we will probably need that for the next few years until the Louisville Water Project is complete and is working properly, and we can make sure that we can get enough water. So in this, on the Freeman Lake, item 9 there, which is on it's page 15, we're proposed in this agreement that we have a short-term lease, a 5-year lease for Freeman Lake water treatment plant, and then with the right for the district to renew it for an additional 5 years if necessary. We think the first 5 years will be more than enough, and that the Louisville water pipeline project will be completed within the next year or 2, and we may not even need it that long. But the last thing we want is for hot, dry times for anybody to have to ration water or have a water shortage. So having an abundance of caution, we want to lease that facility for a 5-year lease with the right to renew it for another 5 years. And then whenever we're satisfied that we don't need it anymore, that Louisville Water is adequate for our supplemental supply, then we will cancel that lease and turn that back over to the.
Damon, can I ask a question?
Yes, Councilman
You
Thomas.
or JJ, would you all be using Freeman Lake during that 5-year period?
If we would, in order to meet the general demand of how much water customers need, generally we know we need White Mills and City Springs. In order to meet peak demand, last 2 or 3 years suggests that we do need Freeman Lake to meet peak demand in the summertime months. So we had our folks training at the lake with the
2015 delay in the Louisville schedule, then you have summer of 2016, so it could be 2 summers there when we know what to operate.
When we first started talking, did we originally say that we probably wouldn't be using Freeman Lake? I mean, that,
Correct.
okay, that's,
Yeah, and then the study and the district did their due diligence, and then the engineering firm that the district hired started looking at worst case scenarios, and then, hey, you know, we can't take a chance. We need to play it safe. So,
but it would be, if it's approved, it would be a 5-year lease.
yes,
And then renewable. Okay.
that's right.
The actual operation of the valves and the level of the lake would be cooperative.
That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's right, because Charlie was very, he warned us about that, and the district does not want that
Yeah,
responsibility.
that's
That'll be left with the city.
Okay.
Now, when we talked about the perpetual lease, one thing that's in the agreement and will be in the perpetual lease itself, if there's any part of these facilities down at the water treatment plant or elsewhere that the district decides in the future, we don't need that anymore. For example, the roundhouse down there. You know, that's a very historical structure, and if for some reason the district decides it's not economically feasible to operate that anymore, that maybe we need something different, then we would turn that facility back over to the city because it's yours, and then y'all can make the decision.
But what are we to do with these things?
Well,
That's what I was going to ask.
yeah.
What are we doing?
Well,
I mean, that's like, well.
yeah, well, except, for instance, the roundhouse is down there right in among all those other facilities, and who knows? But
I want to make it my office.
yeah, I started to say that, but I didn't
I'll
want
sign a lease with you.
to. Rent free, of course.
You got to put another door on it, put some caulk on it, but I want that. I love that roundhouse.
Make you a good deal on it.
You know any realtors?
That's any good ones.
Well, that's kind of like a lawyer.
For the record, Mike said that, I did not. Payment.
Next item is the, back to the contract. Page 14, the city communication antennas, which is item 10 on my list here, but it's on page 14. A good number, the district will not do anything to mess up the city's communication antennas, your network that you've got on some of these tanks. Now, fortunately, a lot of the communication equipment is on the Oaklawn tank that we would not be acquiring, so that takes care of itself. But Charlie's and the staff is getting a list of the fire department, the police, and your communication with your city facilities and all that. You know, it's there and it will remain there, you know, rent-free, that, you know, we will honor and allow you to continue to use that, and you'll have access to those tanks where that is, and that's in the agreement. And the next thing is item 11, ordinance. It will be, and that's not in the agreement, of course, but to approve, the next step to approve this in the process is for the city to enact an ordinance approving the agreement and authorizing the transfer of the assets in the perpetual lease pursuant to the terms of this agreement. So that will be coming back to you for your consideration to enact that ordinance. Then the last thing is water liaison, and I'm going to ask our chairman to talk about that, if you would, please.
Some of the questions that we've had over the time was that you would like a representative appointed to the board. Well, state law doesn't grant that. Judge Barry is the only person who can appoint a representative to the board. But during this transition time, we felt that for communication and for guidance, we would be honored and desire for the mayor to appoint a liaison to serve with us and to guide us and bring information back and forth. And so we propose that there'll be a liaison from the city council or from whomever you all appoint to serve, to handle communication and to provide guidance. So that was one thing we were proposing and suggesting
What do you think Charlie Bryant's been doing?
He's done an excellent job.
Been in the hen house the whole time.
But you just said a while ago he'd been here 40 years and didn't know anything. And
Sound like they're married.
Proud to be here.
Proud to be here. I can relate.
Would be happy to address any questions, concerns, or thoughts that the council members have about the proposed transfer.
You're not taking the Oaklawn, the Hawkins Drive, and the booster pump there, Oaklawn, because you don't need them? Basically, is that in a nutshell why you're not taking those?
The hydraulic analysis that was done by DRW suggests that our Pear Orchard tank, which is behind Coles,
Right.
can serve that area that now you all serve.
Okay.
That tank, and the booster pump feeds that area. So we already have 1 million gallons there. It's 60 or 80 feet higher than the existing tank. So that's a 100,000 gallon tank, and we don't have to maintain and keep it. It's an engineering reason. It's not for any other risk or location or anything like that. It's just purely an engineering hydraulic reason that we will have to have those here.
Charlie, what's the plan for us to do with these things?
We're not using the Hawkins Drive tank ourselves either right now.
We are with Oaklawn though, right?
We do use the Oaklawn tank.
To sell some more radio tower space on it?
We can sell, based on, we have a number of things that we use it for like that. Of course, we would take it out of service water-wise, take the water out of it and maintain it as long as it was feasible as antennas.
You're talking about Oaklawn? Yeah.
Do we sell the water district too? That's in the tank? Yeah.
We had GRW, who has done work for you all and us to do a asset analysis and to do a hydraulic analysis of the system to see how they merge, what improvements, and Charlie and staff were very helpful in that with our staff. And as I said, we've had a lot of people working, and JJ has hired nine staff members to train so that when we do finalize this, that it won't be a shock to our system to absorb. They've been checking and downloading and learning some of your processes. So we've invested a whole lot, as you know, into this program. We know, and we've got analysis, we've got the financial asset of your equipment, and we have downloaded some of the software that they can talk about more. And we're getting ready so that if on a certain date that we'll have the staff and be able to serve you. But yet this costs a lot of money to hire these 9 employees to train to get ready for this date.
You say hired, is that from us or did you go outside?
It's a combination of both of those. We're currently in an interview process, I think, with 4 applicants. There's been 2 more applicants. We've got 6 ones for part-time, but that's part of the equation. We know we need water treatment operators. The others that Mike's referring to is we know we need another distribution crew. So the field maintenance, you guys are going to keep all your field operators because you also have stormwater and parks and recreation and all the other things that go on in the field. So the agreement with Charlie was we would recruit water treatment operators because you won't need water treatment operators to see the so we have to staff up in our field supervisors, operators, meter readers. We'll have to staff up to meter readers to read 10,000 meters. And then the office staff too. We estimate about 3 more people in the office to service people wanting to make their payments on the bills walking into the office. So combination of both. We expect to land at about 18 more people in today. The last thing we could do is bring in 18 people on day X and be ready to go. So we pulled that forward. We've been hiring and training throughout the year.
JJ, you mentioned day X, and Mike and David did it. Is January the 15th the date that we're shooting for? I mean,
we're
January of 15, is that?
We're shooting that we're going to start floor
meeting on the 5th.
We would, if you all move, I think we're looking at maybe November so that we'll be able to take over and do, if that's feasible with you all, isn't that correct?
Right.
But it would not be chlorinated?
No.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a good point. B.
Excuse me.
No,
go ahead.
no.
Our first deal is, when we take over, the first thing we're going to do is take your high service areas, put in new meters. And there are some other areas, and the reason we're going to do high service areas is because that's where the revenue. We probably also do other areas of high traffic, the danger areas, get those, because you don't want vehicles stopping.
Right.
And so we're going to be looking at some of that. Charlie and JJ have gone over some areas that we need to upgrade and do. We're looking at a total of about $9 million investment in the first 5 years. Is that not correct? We're looking at $9 million in the first 5 years to bring your system over and convert it to where we are. Radio read meters is the primary thing.
And if all goes as we all agree on, again, November is what would like to do.
And to follow up on that, there's a 60-day review period at the Public Service Commission. So if the council adopts this and approves the agreement, at say by the end of July, if you have your first reading next Monday and then the second reading and final approval at the following Monday, which would be July the 28th, the district on our agenda tomorrow night is a resolution to approve the asset purchase agreement. So then we can file it with the PSC in early August. So then, middle of October, we get our PSC approval, and then we schedule a closing around November the 1st. Because the last thing you want to do is try to take over during Christmas vacation and bad weather, and that's just a bad time to, I think, that's not a legal thing, but it's just practical.
And that's a downside too, but like the chloramines, the January is the best time that JJ and staff reviewed, and that's the best time to convert because the less use, and it's just a good time for that. But we got to get all this approved by PSC, and sometimes they move quicker than others, but we don't want to go in there and assume that we have anything until PSC puts their stamp on. We have gone to them, we have asked for guidance, and I think Damon and Dee Dee have done that, and they're aware of where we are. I've learned PSC doesn't like to be surprised, and we have kept them quite posted, and so it's all there. We have some concerns about, as our system grows, if we don't convert to chloramines, there's some residuals that we're not going to meet. And one thing that we don't want is to have a bad mark that we haven't kept our system purified and I don't know the right word, but that we're up to snuff on everything.
Which brings up, kind of brings us to the scheduling of the reading of the ordinance. I mean, that with all of this, we need to accelerate our process a bit, and they would like for us, we would like to have our first reading of this ordinance next week, which would be pretty simple, just basically adopting this agreement, and then call a special meeting at what would be our work session the next week, which is July 28th, for final reading and then publishing.
Question on these deposits here, because when someone comes in here and our deposit, when we say to a new customer, do we say to them, it's $50 for your water, it's $10 for the sewer? How have we, I guess, presented that to our customers? Because what this agreement says, we keep that deposit. I could see when somebody moves out, they come in here and go, I want my water deposit back, or they go to Water District 2 and say, I want my water deposit back because I had one with the city. Now, obviously, we say water and sewer together, and then there's a gas deposit too. Is us keeping this going to create a problem?
I think JJ may need to talk about this as far as how you all will handle those, but because ours is combined, it was agreed in the initial discussions, we're just gonna keep our customer deposits. So the ones that we would be responsible for in the future would be our sewer and gas customers, and they're going to take over and administer any deposit.
Are you guys gonna go back and go, I need your water deposit now?
For the customers that we acquire from the city, we're not gonna charge a deposit, so we're not gonna add any of their money as a deposit. So at some point, when they would have qualified for a refund of a deposit, it's only with the city that they have that deposit. For our new customers that come in, we charge a $60 deposit.
What about new customers within the city?
If they're a new customer of ours after this transaction.
Then you'll charge them a deposit.
$60.
Okay.
But the 10,000 that come over will not be charged anything initially, just when new people move in.
But a lot of our customers, we are refunding constantly deposits that we've had for long-term customers because it's easier than handling the PSC regulations on that. So a lot of our customers don't have any deposit coming when they move out of the service if they've been on it a long time.
Yeah, because you've already given it back to them.
Right.
Can I ask a couple questions about water towers, the two that you're not taking? If you abandon a home, it deteriorates pretty quick. Is that the same with a water tower?
Well,
You take them down?
when we're done with them, for an example, I mean, I couldn't answer that, but the example is on Hawkins Drive. I mean, if that water tower hasn't been used in 10 years, that's the condition of the water tower that you see right there. You see it from the interstate.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't look like an abandoned water tower to me from the outside. So,
What does it cost to take down a water tower?
we took down one just a month ago with Valley Creek for $6,000.
6,000?
6,000.
And then whoever takes
Basically,
it,
their profit is in the steel.
They take the steel. Okay.
$6,000 in 4 hours time.
okay.
But we're using ours for communications, correct? That one?
Yes.
The one
Okay,
we are.
all right.
And on Pear Orchard up by Coles, see, we got one 100 feet away from you. So that'd be a redundance that.
That's a good backup though, Mike. I'm telling you, that's a good backup. That
Good
close,
backup.
easy to service, being that close.
Well,
Just switch your hot
and it's a small thing, but one way for us to look at it is, I mean, if we were selling you a farm that was 100 acres and 90 of it was great cropland and 10 acres was rocky and nobody wanted it, we're not gonna let you carve out the 90 acres.
But
See what I'm
you're
saying?
keeping, how many towers do
Yeah, I
you
was
have?
gonna say, our
of those?
police, our fire, we need
Yeah.
Have to
our
have the
antennas up here.
antennas.
You
Yeah,
got
the
those
one
an-
anyway.
On the one.
We
You
need
got
the one.
those antennas that you're getting a fee every year off of that. See, we're not getting that. So those, they may not be.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm talking about the two towers that you're not taking. We use one of them for communications and the other one we don't.
Well, the other one, we have our own city network antenna on that, so we're using it also. But it's been questionable for a while as to what do we do with that tank because we've had it out of service.
For so
But
long.
as I say, it's not
A big,
very expensive at all if we decided just to take it completely down because you can get contractors that will come in, take them down for the.
steel.
Other questions?
I'm gonna be upfront. I need to be convinced that it's okay for the city to finance this at $8 million, no interest. I believe we are the city of E-Town, not the Bank of E-Town. And I've talked with Mike about this. We have to, as a city, when we do a capital project, and this is a capital project, we have to go and issue bond revenue to be able to do that. And I know that, I don't think anybody on the council came up with this deal. I think Steve Park presented this to you all in this manner. You know, if we, during this time, we have capital projects that are budgeted, and to do those, we're going to have to go borrow money to do that. And we're going to do bond issues, and we're going to pay.
Are you confusing debt with an asset? In other words, we're paying, right?
We're financing you
How are you financing us?
because you have you're taking our assets. Our assets are our water customers. and the equipment.
We're going to invest $9 million more than we're paying just to have that. It's an operational system. It has a life, a service our clients.
It's no different than buying a manufacturing equipment to make a living. I don't see the difference. I do not see the difference.
And Councilman folks, I see where you're coming from, though. I see where you're coming from. We have talked about that before. And Steve is not here. We've had that discussion. I thought that when Steve presented, and I'm not a finance, but I thought that there was, Jeff may respond, there was something regarding capital gains or something that.
No, there is no capital gains. That was thrown out, but there's no capital gains.
I mean, I thought that Steve had convinced us that financing, because we talked about both options, but I thought he had convinced us.
This was a proposal brought to us.
Right. It wasn't your all's idea.
It was what was in the letter of intent when we approved it, or when we accepted you. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I understand we don't have it either. And it gives us time and gives us an opportunity. I'm not saying that we would be opposed in the future to sit down and look at it again, but we don't even know what we're getting into. And as Mo just said, we're going to put $9 million into this, and maybe we're providing a service for you, taking over and managing a service for a time. And I don't know. I know if I were in your place, I'd be wanting to get everything I can. But when they came and talked to us, someone from City Council said we're losing money on this part, and if we could get this amount of money, the $400,000, then we could go on. We didn't come up with $400,000.
And I do understand that. I understand that, if I was sitting where you were, I'd like this deal too. Well,
we got some that don't like it, just like
no.
Some of them want to shoot Mo because they think he's paying too much, but it's not uncommon for somebody wanting to shoot Mo.
I like Mo. I don't want to shoot you, Mo. He's not leaving anybody untouched, is he, Mo?
Charlie, I think.
Steve's concept was that it would not have a negative impact on our budget. Because the city has always budgeted attempting to shoot for a $400,000 a year income on that part of the budget. But the other thing is that Steve was looking at and worked hard to get this transition of the rates, so the customers would not be hit with an automatic jump. And so I think that's one of the things that he was looking at, is that's a trade-off there as far as the city getting interest. The city's interest is being transferred to those existing customers, and they're getting a break for this next 3 years.
Mike, if you don't mind, just to unmuddy the waters, pardon my pun, you're investing $9 million into our infrastructure. You don't have the $8 million to pay us from a bond, so the $400,000 each year for 20 years, that's actually coming from our citizens who are paying the bills. They're paying you the money, you're turning around and reimbursing the city for what our citizens paid for the water.
In a way.
Okay. All right.
You could say that. Or it could, it's however you want to stack it up. You could say, we cannot say that present customers of District 1 are reimbursing or paying for this, because public service will not allow us to take any revenues generated by the present to do anything for the future. So anything in the future has to be generated by the future. So yes. But we're also taking part of that money and putting, 18 million into Louisville?
16
million. What's a couple million?
That's right.
16 million into going to bring Louisville water down here. We have a lot of capital going out right now.
And that's for the pipeline construction.
Yes.
Bringing it down. Okay.
Where's the 9 million for the repairs, I mean, for the upgrade for the meters coming from?
JJ will have to ask that. Oh, where's it coming from?
Yeah. You don't have 8 million to,
He's the,
but,
It's a 5-year plan.
Okay.
Of course, the rates that Charlie talked about, it's something
Okay.
over 3 years. So the engineering report suggested to us that, hey, these are things you need to do in years 0 through 1, and years 2 and 3, and here's things that you can wait on. But $3.5 million of that 9 is in the meter connections, customer connections. We're hoping for it in 2 to 2.5 years to upgrade all the meter connections up front. So yeah, it's $9 million, but we're going to spread that out.
it's not immediate layout, it's over a period of time. Okay.
and some work on the plant, on the wells, right?
Right, yeah.
The other part of it was upgrades and how can we automate the treatment plant. A lot of the processes, City Springs are manual in nature. You have to make changes here in the control room and then go turn a gate valve. So there are upgrades to the plant to make it a similar operation to White Mills. And those are discretionary. You can say those are discretionary, but from our standpoint, it makes for a more reliable plant. It makes it easier for our operators to control the process. So those are things that were recommended and we agree with, and we're going to put them in our budget. Now, all engineers like to spec out a whole lot more projects than we can afford to do. And I'm an
Their
engineer.
fees based on that
Right,
sometimes.
Exactly. I'm an engineer, I understand that, but I'm also keen to it as well. So they suggested a lot of things that we decided we don't need to do. E-Town's been operating a quality system since 1895 when we voted to have a public water system under some of these conditions. We feel like that some of those conditions continue the way they are. So we didn't accept all the recommendations.
But you also have to know that part of that money is going to come from 10,000 new customers and the step-up increases over the next 5 years as well.
I'll say one other thing about the process that we've gone through, that Damon has worked really hard and he's really good at putting agreements like this together because he has the experience and the knowledge of it, but he's just really good at getting an agreement that's boiled down to real simple and practical application, so I appreciate that.
I apologize that it took 35 pages to do it in, but anyway, but.
You use large print.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
You get paid per page.
No, but the older I get, the bigger the print has to be, I think. But
He's made all the changes we've asked for too, and we've gone through it paragraph by paragraph.
thank you, and I'll probably see you next Monday afternoon.
Thank you, David.
Oh, sure, yeah. You don't want to stay and hear about the rest of the water? More water.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Carroll?
I'm going to just turn this way a little bit. Can everybody up here see this? It's always a problem with council rooms. There's people looking in the same direction, or looking at each other. We're trying to show something. Yeah, they do, folks. No, we'll do that. As the mayor noted, we're going to talk about water too. This will be hopefully a little more fun than that. We won't be talking about $8 million, but we will be talking about a couple $1 million anyway. This is what we're here to look at, is to look at the final plan of what we've been working with over the past couple of months for the American Legion pool, and we've got detailed boards of the water features and the actual pool house plans that we want to talk about also. So I'm going to take about 10 to 15 minutes. Interrupt me anytime, ask a question. Let's not be shy. Just to orient you a little bit, this is the edge of the existing parking lot. This is the Funtopia playground over here, and you can see the pathways to get back across. And the existing pool is basically about in this area right here. What we've developed for this pool is a drop-off lane where people can come in and drop kids off, and to come right directly into the pool. pool house is the first thing that you'll come to. It's a little bit different orientation because you'll be able to get directly through the pool house rather than going around to where the pool house is now. We've got a shallow water area through here with a zero depth and with an ADA type entry here that's got railings. We've got viewing steps. This shallow water through this main part of this oval shaped pool will vary anywhere from 0 up here to no more than about 3 feet down here in the deepest part of it, and then it goes into where the slide area is. It gets a little deeper. But we've got steps for viewing, and the steps for viewing are also steps for seating. People just like to sit on the steps with their feet in the water, their rear ends in the water, and just watch the kids out here. We've got a large water feature in the center of this area. We've got a smaller deck area over here where we've got some sprays coming out onto the pool, and we come down to this part where we've got you can see that's roped off here where we've got a dual water slide, where we've got a water slide that's got a speed slide that comes straight down. We've also got one that goes through some loops to get out in the water, and this water slide is about 25 feet tall. So it's a pretty tall water slide. This thing down here that we've added, it came as a result of some of the instruction or some of the conversations we've had about being able to provide water safety instruction at the pool. And this area here this water slide area will only be about 42 to 44 inches deep, but we will transition down into here to a 9-foot depth area that's about 25 by 25 where people can take swim lessons and get water instruction. You can train your lifeguards there because lifeguards need to have deeper water. So we've got that. And then, of course, when that's not going on, we also have an area where you can actually have a little deep water type thing. And what we've proposed to put in this deep water is a climbing wall right here. It's on the side of the pool that you can climb up. Kids can climb up the wall and then obviously fall back into the water on that. But it also gives you some deep water in the pool for people who want to do diving or you can do scuba training or anything like that in 9 feet of water.
Rough dimensions of that deep 9-foot area.
25 by 25 in just this area here, but we can't. Code requires us to transition down at a 1 to 3 slope. So we've got an area in here that transitions from about 4 feet down to 9 feet. That is almost 20 feet long also. So you've really got about 25 by 45 in deeper water. What we call deeper water, more than 5 feet of water, more than 5 feet of depth. As you can see, we've got a series of umbrellas of shade structures around the perimeter of the pool, which we're trying to get as much shade out in here. We've got a dedicated concession area over here on this side of the pool, where the concession stand will be in here. When we get to the plans, we can talk about some of the windows. And then on this side of the project site, we've got a spray ground over here, and we've got several items, and we've actually got a couple of shade structures, which you can see it actually spread out over the spray ground, so that you've got some shade out there for people to be in the shade while they're actually on the spray ground, or for kids, I should say, because that's who's going to be out there. This is color blue, but that is not standing water. That does not hold any water, with the idea that this spray ground then can be open not year round, but I mean a lot longer. It'll be open 6 or 7 months of the year, whereas this will be open the normal 3 months of the year. We've got a fence entirely surrounding the facility. Any questions about this?
The shade structures, what are they constructed of? Wood?
Right here.
Right there. Right there.
We have 2 types of shades noted in this facility. We have a cantilever shade here, which would be the square shades.
Okay. Spray ground.
Right. And then one also here at the 0 depth, and then the other would be the umbrella.
Okay.
20 foot.
Yeah, those are pretty large.
Are those, we had talked about using some of these areas. Is that going to be grass or is that concrete?
That's concrete.
That's concrete. We had talked about going back up into the grass areas to where people could rent, because we don't have a pavilion, a large shade area for birthday parties and for private functions and things like that.
We have developed a party room within the pool house that's available for rentals, which could be utilized for parties and things like that. we've talked a lot about, with staff, about the control of the rentals out there on the deck. And we've kind of abandoned the idea of trying to actually rent space out there because of your ability to control it, quite frankly. Whereas we've got a party room right here that's actually inside that you could actually have. This would be a conditioned space, so you could have ice cream and you could serve stuff in here. You notice there's a counter from the concession window leading right into that room. So you can control it in here, and when you serve your cake and ice cream, you're only serving to the kids that are supposed to be here, not everybody at the pool. And I think this thing is a much better revenue source than trying to rent the shade things out there on the surface of the deck area.
And you know, when you go up there now and there's just absolutely no shade, none. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it was just really important to have as much shade as we could, and then that you wouldn't have to rent it. You know, it would be available for everybody.
Oh, when I was a lifeguard, even the lifeguards didn't have umbrellas. We were
You're a
constantly.
lot tougher back then.
Well, yeah, we walked to school 10 miles uphill both ways, yeah.
In the snow.
In the snow. Let me ask you about the water slides. Is it going to be half pipe slides? Because I've seen some places where it's totally enclosed, which I really don't like. So if we're looking at our water slides, are they going to be like those right there?
This is the water slide we proposed.
Okay, good, good.
It's a half pipe, yeah. And actually, that's what I was going to say. If Philip doesn't mind holding that board up. This is the water slide that we proposed here. You can see, as I said, the loop slide comes around and the speed slide comes straight down. This structure right here, which you see it, you see one in real life, and that's a plan drawing of it there, is the structure that's in the pool. And it's got the dumping buckets up on top. It's got sprays that come out of it. It's got sprays down here at the lower level. It's got a lot of interactive type things for kids to play with.
And that's in the center.
That's in the center of the shallow water of the pool. You can see that. You can see that person right there. You can see the water's not very deep in that area.
Wouldn't that have been better over in the spray area there where?
No, because you don't want kids. Well, there's plenty of spray areas over there. This dumping bucket needs to be in the water. I mean, this really needs to be. This is a better location.
That's not water you're wasting. That's water you're recycling.
That's water you recycle. Well, no, we're not wasting water in the spray ground either. That water gets filtered and reused also.
Okay.
And that'll come in handy with the chloramine.
It's really funny. The word chloramine is a bad word in the pool business.
It is. Yeah.
But I understand in the water supply business.
Aeration and lots of sunshine help get rid of chloramine.
Yeah.
There's also a bucket kind of thing in the spray ground area too. Didn't we add that?
Yes, we added that.
Oh, sorry. It's on the floor. It's on the floor. I'm sorry. It's on the ground. Yeah, this feature right here is one of the features that's on the spray ground. That has 5 buckets of water that dump out onto the spray ground, onto the spray ground. And one of the things that's always fascinated me, and I know other folks have heard me say this, how kids can time these things. They'll know exactly when those buckets turn over. They know it because these things are done with different rates. The buckets have different pieces in them. They don't all dump at the same time. They don't all dump at the same rate. They vary a lot. And kids eventually figure that out. But these are some of the features that we do have in the spray ground. We got some ground sprays, and we've got this. This thing creates like a glass shield of water at the Aquadome, and these are mostly things that attract small children. This age group here is about as large as a group as you get at a spray ground, and my guess is that kid there the pool's probably called timeout, and that's why he's on the spray ground right now.
There you go. Is there any area around the spray ground for parents to sit?
Yes.
In the shade? Is that what those two shades?
They consider
that's what that's for.
They consider the shade structures. Right?
Okay. And is that relatively dry underneath there, or is it just
shade
from the sun?
No, it's off. If you look at really, if you look at the blue area,
yes,
that's the area that might be wet. That 6-foot walkway around here is the side that won't be wet because the water won't. I'm not saying some kid might not spray water on somebody out there.
6 foot of concrete around.
That's a 6-foot deck around there. Where we'd anticipate there'd be some benches or something like that around the perimeter of that where people could sit down out there.
And is it concrete or is it a cool deck? Or
it's all concrete. It's concrete. Yeah, it's concrete. We have experimented with a wide variety of surfaces over 35 years of doing this, and the bottom line is good old concrete works best from the standpoint of maintenance and long-term operations.
Is it colored in any way?
We can color it, yeah, it can be colored. That's certainly an option that you have.
In the deep water area of the pool there is no diving board or structure there to,
No, sir.
okay.
No, the ladies, the instructors, told us that we didn't need a diving board. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, you don't want those
I didn't
anymore.
want one, yeah.
But they could teach diving off the side.
And I think that's what most pools have done, yeah.
Navy, good Navy teaching.
Mhm.
To your question about the rental structures, it seemed like the space that we were being able to utilize around the pool, as Mike said, that we were kind of running short on space as far as designated rental areas, and Scott may help me on this, my recollection on it, that was a concern too, as far as trying to manage that and control of it so that you allow people to use what they were supposed to be able to use and not being interfered with everyone else there. So at this point, we've just opted with general shade structures around it and trying to encourage the use of the party room as far as a rental area.
I noticed there's no lazy river. We had talked about a lazy river of some sort or some kind.
Tell him the price of one lazy river.
I remember it was fairly expensive.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
$1
priced per foot.
$1 each.
Yeah, it's going to be close to $1 million to add a lazy river.
And when you say that, what would $1 million do? Would that put a lazy river all the way around it? What would you say?
It'd be about a 450, 460 foot. No, it would not go all the way around. It would be, the location for it would probably be over here would be the best location for it, but it would be a winding type.
Would it be separate from the pool?
It would be separate from the pool, yes, sir.
Okay.
But you're leaving us enough room in case we want to add that on.
There's plenty of
down the
room up there
road.
to add around it.
Terry, I tell you what, you get a raft, I'll pull you around to save $1 million if you're okay out there. Would that be all right?
Let me ask you about the water chemistry. Of course, it looks like we are going to be switching to chloramines. Not that I want that to happen, but I'm the lone voice here. UV decomposes the chloramines. However, I know some pool systems utilize UV filtration systems to get rid of the chloramine that the natural light does not get rid of. Are we going to have that problem here, or is the natural light going to be able to control the chloramine in the water?
You find very, very few pools that use UV on the outdoor level. UV is mainly done primarily on the indoor level for the very reasons that you're talking about.
The odor builds up, and
yeah, because we're not dealing with an HVAC system that has to take care of it. We don't have the development of chloramines down on the pool water because it's open air.
Right.
So literally, you don't have those issues. I mean, that doesn't say because the chemical mixture can get mixed up and you develop them, but normally that's not a problem on an outdoor facility.
Are we going to use any type of activated carbon system with the filtration, or?
We will be using a high rate sand filter system, and we're also using tablets as a chlorination system because that's what's been used, what everybody's familiar with. Get you out of containing containers of liquid chlorine, and so it's a very easy, simple type system to maintain, which is an advantage because a lot of times you have 16-year-old lifeguards taking care of your filtration system.
And we all know how we used to be when we were 16, huh?
Yes. No comments about that, but yes.
That one showed a golf check-in and a pool check-in. Is that still the thought that those that play golf, or are you going to just use that simply for pool? We didn't try to combine and reduce staff?
When we get this, I think you've got some drawings showing the building, don't you? We've tried to provide for that as a potential.
Okay.
The only thing I might mention, I know it's a lot of concrete, but I know that concrete does have problems as well too, because aren't you got to put some expansion joints in that concrete?
Oh, it will.
And where you have those rubber expansion joints, you're gonna have problems with concrete there. And it seems like if you have concrete that is, and I know colored concrete is quite a bit more expensive, but if you have colored concrete or stamped concrete or any type of a design, it camouflages those imperfections that are gonna happen. And I would just think that would be something we would want to consider, and you guys could give us some advice on what we could do to keep it from just looking like a concrete floor in your driveway.
Right.
And I know there's all different types of cool decks and things like that. I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but I'm suggesting something maybe with some design to it, or with some pattern to it, or with some color to it, or some texture or something that when we get those imperfections, they're not immediately noticeable.
They don't stick out quite as badly.
I know, I've got a lot of concrete in my backyard, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I don't know if kids would care.
Well, they would, and you stump your toes, and you drag your feet in them and stuff like that, because, I mean, you know, winter is rough on concrete.
Yeah, it is.
And so you have to be careful, and the problems are always right up next to the expansion joints. It's not in the big area of concrete, it's where the expansion joints are.
Actually, you know, it's funny that you say that, because typically it occurred to me when you were talking, and we don't have that condition. Most problems, cracks in the deck that we have emanate from the corners of the pool. That's where the pool comes in, where it runs out. Concrete runs out. We don't have that problem over here. We don't have any corners, but we do have a couple of corners.
You're talking about an actual corner.
Yeah, an actual corner of the pool, that because the concrete, because you have concrete wrapping that corner, it kind of tends to go out there.
Let me ask
back to the spray part of the thing. That will be recirculated water, you said?
That recirculates the water too, yes, sir.
Mayor, we talked about this over the phone, but could you explain again the logic, the reasoning behind why we did not want to combine the pool admissions with the golf admissions? What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, you have a whole different clientele, 100%, 360-degree different. You have especially a lot of older gentlemen that like to go and play golf in the morning. The last thing they want to contend with, kids running in and out, screaming, hollering. It just seemed a lot simpler to keep the pool, the kids and mothers renting the party room and all of that down here, and the golfers up there on the hill. It just seemed the best way to do it.
Yeah, I understand. I guess when I was envisioning the complex, that the golfer's window was over here and the pool admissions window was over here, and they were totally separate. But I guess with this layout, that you really can't do that. So, yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't allow.
Seemed like a long way to
It wouldn't allow
pull
you
your
for
golf
combining them. You
clubs.
still have to operate both of them if you have separate.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You know, I hope that as we do this, that we can research and come up with a way to be able to keep this open a little bit longer than we can. And I understand the issue when the lifeguards go back to school, but I think that we could probably, surely, at least on the weekends, when it's still warm into August, that we could come up with some lifeguards so that the pool could be open longer. You know, maybe there's some lifeguards that wouldn't mind doing that shorter part versus doing every day during the week during the summer. But I would hope that we would be open to that, maybe try to get some of that.
Well, Tony and I will volunteer to break out our Speedos and do that.
I could swim in an ocean.
Well, and didn't we say, though, that the spray part of it is going to be open considerably longer
Right.
than what we have been? Yeah.
Yeah, and even, you know, for the weekend, the main part, because I think I guess we would be required to have a lifeguard even in that area that's only 3 feet, right? Even if you did not open up the deeper end slides.
You'll have to have a lifeguard, wherever you've got standing water, you have to have a lifeguard. That's why I made a point that that's not standing
That's
water.
fine.
You don't require a lifeguard there.
Yeah.
Is the spray park, okay, the lazy river is very expensive. Is a spray park that much more expensive if you wanted to bring that on around a little bit and maybe have 2 more features, something like that? Is that a really expensive proposition?
When you talk about features, what are you?
Well, you have 5 features, correct? You have cylinder spray.
No. We have multiples of these
In the spray park.
in the spray park.
Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
if you were to bring some of that, you know, if you were to bring this on down and maybe increase that in size by 20 or 30, 40%, something like that, is that a really big issue?
Well, we've got let me just check something. Since I'm going to give you this, I want to be accurate instead of just guessing what I'm going to tell you.
Gotcha.
We've got $325,000 for the spray pad right now.
Okay.
For what that is.
For what that is now.
Yeah, so what that is, so I mean, you know, if you increase it by 50%, you're probably
Add
you're probably increasing the cost by 50%.
How many lifeguard stands will we have around the main swimming area? And
There will be 4 stands in this thing when it's open at full power, and we don't put them down on the deck anymore. We make them all movable so that you can move them around, so that you can make sure that you don't have glare off the water. That's the biggest thing when you're a lifeguard, is getting when the sun glares off the top of the water where you can't get a good view. So you have the ability to move the lifeguard stations around. Two reasons. One for glare, and the other is just for where the activity is. I mean, in this pool, you'll have a guard. You'll have a guard on the slide too. I forgot to mention.
On the slide, yeah.
Yeah, you'll have a guard on the slide and in the water there. That's required by code. But that guard there and that guard up there can handle this area because you won't have that many people down in here. But you'll have a lot of people out in here.
Mike, would you summarize that again and specifically how many guards and where they would like to be?
The size of this pool will require 4 guards, and there will be an additional guard required at the top and the bottom of the water slide. So there'll be 6 guards on duty when the pool is open for full business. Like when you're doing swimming lessons and stuff like that, you're still required to have a guard out there, even though you've got certified instructors. You still have to have a guard out there, but that could be just 1 guard when you're doing swimming lessons when the pool's not actually open for business.
And the spray park, though, could operate or would operate without guards.
It would operate without a guard, yes, sir.
That's 6 guards.
6 guards in business, yes.
Okay. And when you see this pool with the umbrellas, and I saw on one of those slides, there were
Yeah.
2 sets of chairs underneath each one of those umbrellas. Is that about right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Two picnic tables.
Yeah, 2 picnic tables. Okay, so would you see that this deck around this pool would also have room for, like resort-style lawn chairs?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We would typically expect to have that in your furnishings budget, that you would be buying some
Chairs.
chairs.
Chairs,
Yes.
and regular chairs.
Oh, yeah, where's my synthetic palm trees? We needed those.
And maybe you've answered this, but, after the pool closes and the spray park's still open, is there a way to close off the pool where they can just have access to the spray park only?
Yes. Yes.
The spray park access is up here.
But the restrooms and everything, they don't have to get over in the other area?
We actually have a separate restroom where if the pool is closed, we've got a family restroom that on the outside of this building. It could be used by anybody in the park, but specifically kids who are at Funtopia or kids who are in the spray ground have access to a restroom on a building that's not inside the fence.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I guess
I only got a restroom.
I guess two comments that I have. First of all, I agree with Marty that, I think that after school starts back usually the first week of August, why couldn't we keep the pool open on the weekends, on Saturday and Sundays until Labor Day, like they used to back when we were kids? Because I hate to spend this much money on a pool, and in August, is usually our hottest month. The kids are going back to school, and now, we've got a brand new pool sitting up there with nothing going on. Surely we could find some lifeguards for the weekends and things like that. And my other comment is this. When we met with tourism, they indicated that they would very much like to be involved in maybe helping us out to expand this. Why don't we go to tourism? You're talking about double the spray park, just double the size of it. Because I think you're going to see a lot more use out of that spray park than you think. We've never had one, and that's the going thing right now. I don't know if you all agree with me or not, but usually when I've gone on vacations and things, the spray park is what you see the busiest. That's where all the kids are at. So, can we do that, Mayor and Charlie? Can we talk to tourism and see if maybe they would go in and on the spray park and double that in size? And because you're talking about another what, 300,000?
If you double.
If you double.
If you double.
Can you all come up with some other ideas to put in a spray park besides what you have?
There's a lot of features out there.
I thought you probably
Right,
could.
and it looks like today
could.
that you've got room kind of south of where the spray park is right there, just to wrap it on down through there.
Because that could actually be opened up a lot of times up into October.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times it's warm till then. So I see we're going to get a lot of use out of that.
Now, that portion where we'd possibly double spray park, that's not part of the lazy river route.
No,
Okay.
it would be really down in the gray part of the board. We couldn't make the turn in the river, and that's too narrow in there between what's up there now and the slide. Because we want water moving in a lazy river, you just don't want it moving too fast around the corners.
I don't know, I sort of like it, kayaks.
We put other stuff in there to make it fun.
With this new facility, when they find that the usage should go up, and even through August, I think that's been one of the issues as far as not only not having lifeguards, but just having not that many people that want to show up there.
And,
It's the middle of late August.
and we spoke about that in one of the meetings,
Well, that
about
was-
renting that out on the weekends, and
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic idea and something we should do, so.
I think what you're going to find out is you've got a whole different facility than what you've had for a lot of years. And you're going to, like keeping it open, you're going to end up experimenting with how many people show up, how can we get lifeguards
Yes.
here, do it, because once school starts, you won't get anybody there during the day. But on the weekends, that's definitely an option.
You're saying we're gonna have something we're gonna be proud of.
Yeah.
And these structures are gonna be very tall up on the hill, people can see it driving by, it's gonna be inviting.
That slide, I'm actually more interested in the view that you would get of E-Town from the top of that slide.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing about it is it's easier to do changes now than it is after you build it and then start trying to add things to it. So that's why I'd like to see that spray park extended.
I'm gonna walk you through the pool house here just real shortly. I can see the clock. So basically, when you look at the plan, there's two sides of the building. One is kind of the working guts. We've got a men's room, locker rooms, and then filter room. You can see we've got a family restroom that opens out on the deck. So there's a family restroom inside the fence, and there's a family restroom outside the fence. And we call it a family restroom because a lot of times in pools, fathers and daughters and mothers and sons, it's just a convenient place to go. So you don't have to go in the locker room, and the family restroom out there just becomes a restroom. And I do want to tell you that we have a bank of lockers out here on the deck. We do not have lockers or anything like that inside the rooms, and we really try to make these things as small as we can, just because it's building and it's expensive and it costs money. On this side, we have a large concession area over here. We've got two windows that will serve the deck, and if you look at that plan, you see that the seating area for the concessions is out here. We've got a manager's office and a separate guard room, and this party room. And we've expanded this party room larger than what it was at the very start. So it's turned into a pretty nice room where we've got a countertop and a refrigerator and a sink. And as I noted before, you can serve from the concession window, and there's a door to go back and forth. So again, depending on the type of party and the elaborate nature of whatever parents want to do, you can do a lot of things in this room, and you can have it be accessible. We do have a central admissions area here. We did put the term pool and golf admissions on there, but this will be the place where everybody comes through. One of the comments that we got from staff, from Seth, was don't put your doors into the concession. Don't put the doors of locker rooms in here. Put them out to the pool so that we avoid that congestion. And that's one of the things that he came from Richmond, where we designed the pool, and we have exactly that situation. So you benefit from knowledge. This last board is just an elevation of what the thing might look like, and we're trying to make it look fun. We're trying to make it look better than what it did. It's all masonry construction, so we've literally got very little maintenance, and you can see we've got louvers shown on the out. This would be the outside view. We've got louvers serving windows. This would be that. Outside.
That's a louver.
That's a louver.
Concession sign is right here.
Yes. That's the concession window over there. What I wanted to bring up while we were talking about this thing is we have the two concession windows here inside the pool fence. We have a third window out here that would be outside the park for anybody that wanted to come. If you want to put a window there, people want to.
Well, we've got picnic areas down there.
You've got picnic areas. You've got the Funtopia. You've got the potential for traffic at that window. So we've got a window outside also, but this looks like more fun than your existing pool house.
What's the dimension of that structure?
Dimension of it, the overall dimension?
Uh-huh.
You know what it is from across? Don't recall. It's about 3,600 square feet total size, but I don't know.
Okay.
I can't tell you what the overall is right now.
Let me ask you about the fencing. Is it going to just be plain Jane chain link fencing? Is there something that can be a little more appealing? Because that chain link fencing, it looks ugly after a while. It gets rusty. It looks like a
we use a black vinyl.
Black vinyl.
Black vinyl fence. That fence tends to disappear. You don't really notice it. You don't see it. It doesn't rust because it's vinyl coated. It's the best product that you can put out there, unless you want to go to a decorative iron type fence that costs a $100,000 to wrap around this pool. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the party room. it'd be great if we could rent out parties every day, but that's probably not gonna happen. So
Don't be surprised.
well, okay, I'll be optimistic and say yes, but let's say it's not. Will that room be Wi-Fi capable and we can put in large screen TVs? Because if there's not a party that day, we can have people come in, bring their computers and hook up there and do their work and while their kids are out in the pool.
That's funny that you mentioned Wi-Fi, because that's one of the things that we're getting into now with having Wi-Fi available out on the deck, because everybody's got a tablet these days. You get moms that come out there and they're there with the kids and they want to be, they need a place not to be connected, also a place to plug in and recharge. So we're putting a lot more outlets out on the deck and things like that, so that there's places like that you can do that.
I noticed that, we have Funtopia and we've got the phrase Watertopia coined here. Is that our new term?
Actually, I don't think somebody said it at a meeting and we kind of liked it, so we put it on there. So I don't think an official decision has been made, but we kind of liked it.
Watertopia?
Watertopia.
I think that was Charlie's name. Now Charlie likes to name things. Worked out real well.
And your plan calls for, you don't have any landscaping involved in your plan, is that correct?
No, we've got some money in there for land.
For landscaping, and would the landscaping be around the perimeter of the fence on the outside?
Primarily at the front entrance and around the perimeter, some, yes. Yeah. Actually, ideally, I'd like to get some trees out there that might eventually grow and they throw some shade over.
Well, I was thinking too, where those umbrellas are, if the patio deck extended out a little more, you could possibly then have some trees planted outside the fence to where you have some natural shade canopies. You take those chase lawn chairs and stack them right up against the fence. That would be a really nice area.
One of the things we think we're getting about, we don't have an accurate survey, and that's going to get done here shortly, as to how far down the hill that goes. Because we don't want to spend a lot of money on building up the hill, but we want to stay within a limit up there. But the idea of planting the trees outside for the shade is good, because the trees will be tall enough when your umbrellas are shot and need to get replaced. You got the trees instead of umbrellas in.
And you can still leave a little opening there, or you can still see above the trees, because you don't want to hide your slides.
No.
Because that's a draw for some curb appeal.
That's correct.
Through there. But you could at least have one section there where you had some trees to where the branches kind of extend a little bit over that fence to make some nice natural shade. Very much so. I like that. Okay.
Derek, just want to hand us out or just put a stack up here?
Sure, just put a stack there, will be fine, and they can grab them all.
Chief, I found razor wire that keeps them in and out. Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And dogs.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ed Pope.
2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah. I'm one of those women.
Some of yours we didn't mess it up that. Oh, thank
When was that pool up there built, Charlie? In the 50s?
60.
60s.
I was a year old.
It served us well for many, many years.
Everybody.
One thing about the pool project is we have taken the demolition of the existing pool out of their part of it so that we can try to get the schedule moving ahead, and Scott has actually put out a bid for demolition. So we'll be handling that directly.
We don't have the staff to do that.
No, we'd have to get some more equipment.
Every ever mad.
There's a lot of room up there, and you don't have to be careful.
Yeah. Tearing stuff down's a lot easier than building.
Putting it up.
Yeah.
Do we have?
Backhoes and turn the council loose.
There you go.
Will we have to have a study on tearing it down?
Have to hire some engineers.
Yeah, have some engineers.
Indiana Math Study. Hi, Ed.
Marty. Sorry.
we've been working with a development group that's looking at property out on the east side of town for potential redevelopment of a hotel into a new hotel and restaurant development. One of the things that came up is the location of how the access road provides entrance or ingress and egress into the property. It's actually a roadway that was given to the city by the Commonwealth of Kentucky some 25 plus years ago when they rebuilt the interchange at exit 94. It was just given to us through an agreement and just labeled as access road number 2. A portion of that access road actually became Buffalo Creek Drive, but then there's a portion of it that's never been named. It gives access to the hotel property and to the rear of the Arby's restaurant out there. So we've highlighted the section that we would like to propose be closed, but to you all, I guess we're closing that portion, but there would be dedication of new right-of-way. So, I mean, we'll, in essence, probably still end up with about the same amount of public street. It's just going to be kind of shifted based on their configuration. And the proposal is to do this in a couple stages, and that is to close the right-of-way now, to work with the present property owner, who is Martha Drake, to close that. Then the property would be transferred, sold to a new development group, and then they would dedicate new right-of-way to the city for a new street, and we would work with them on upgrading the portion that is behind the Arby's now that doesn't meet city street standards. I mean, it's just pavement out there. There's no curb and gutter. There's no sidewalks. The drainage is not handled very well. I mean, one side has some ditches, the other side really doesn't. So again, we would work with them through the development process to upgrade that roadway to current standards too.
So Ed, basically what you're doing, you're working with the developer who's going to redevelop that property, and you're working with them to make it business friendly.
That is correct.
Where you're making another business able to come in here and you're
Create
doing
jobs.
That's right, and you're doing everything you can to make this work within your office.
Yes, sir, I am.
That's exactly what I thought.
That's exactly right.
Who said City of
Did the
E-Town?
media hear that?
Or
just
did
wanted
you
to
get
make-
we're creating jobs?
I just wanted to make sure they understood what he was saying up here, that how much he's working with this new business coming in town to make sure this works.
And it's business friendly. It is
Exactly.
business friendly
You-
development.
you-
And they're
exactly
probably
right.
gonna hire a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not going to be bowling alleys or liquor stores next to
I
it.
want to commend you, Ed, because I know your office does this every time you've dealt with a situation.
And we're doing this at the request of a business.
Exactly.
We're working with
Exactly.
business, Marty. I mean,
It's okay if Costco goes out there somewhere too, isn't it?
Sounds like we will proceed on this
Great
project
idea.
and
It's a great
continue to
idea.
work with the developers. Bring you all
Absolutely.
good
Marty,
proposals.
Ed, I'd say go ahead with it.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Mark. I mean, Ed.
Robert Bush.
What business friendly ideas
Yes.
do you have?
I'll come up with one.
They've requested this for a long time, Dinner. Feeling late.
Exactly. That's the one. Thank you, sir. Make this brief. On Mayor and Council, on Tuesday, we received bids for pipe materials for the Hennon Lane Storm Sewer project. It's an in-house project that we anticipate using our crews to perform the labor and use our equipment to do that work. So we went out to bid to try to acquire materials for that project, and the bids for some reason weren't, we didn't get much of a response. We got a couple of vendors that bid, but we think there's more people out there would be interested in our supplying our project. I know there is, because I followed up and talked with those vendors, and I said, "Ooh, we missed that date. We thought it was next week." Or the other guy, another guy had some issues in regard to didn't understand something about our plan drawing, so he instead of asking, he just passed on it. So, but anyway, I've got those little issues ironed out, and so we're planning to. We'd like to ask you all to waive the current bids and let us go and rebid and start afresh and try to get some more vendor interest, which is a business-friendly thing to do.
That is. Good job. Way to work
I knew I'd get there.
Way to work it.
But we plan to do that, and would like to fast track that, go ahead and get our ads in the paper, and then move forward to do that with your also blessing.
Good deal.
Good. Good deal.
Great.
Good deal.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Tracy Schiller. We're going to talk about parking.
Well, in a sense, yes, ma'am. Mayor,
Parking in the park.
council.
Term I hadn't heard about long
Sean,
time.
Right. Captain Bill, recently, I have several meetings a month with employees in the police department, and once a month I meet with patrol officers to get their input on things we should consider as it relates to helping them do their job more effectively, more efficiently, and also what we can do to enhance overall safety and security for people in the community. One of the things that had come up on 2 separate occasions had to do with the parks and the pull-offs in particular. As we all know, the parks are closed after dark. And they'd experienced several situations where they would find cars parked in the pull-offs after hours. They would get out and check some of the area around that. Sometimes they'd find folks, and other times they never found anyone. One of the suggestions that they like to bring forward, in fact, folks in parks may even have a better idea when we have more conversation about this, was that if there was a way to gate that, to put a gate up at the different pull-offs. Not that it would necessarily keep people out 100%, but it certainly would make a lesser, say, inviting environment for cars to pull in, people to go back into the trails and do whatever they might decide to do. So from our standpoint, it would lessen their opportunity to have access, possibly create a less of a potential for people to get back in and do things they shouldn't be engaging in, and cut down on that type of an issue. Charlie and I had a brief conversation about it, and this is more of an issue just kind of bringing this forward for you to think about and have some consideration.
Yeah, I think before we pursue it any further, we just wanted to mention that to you, that the chief had been getting some
feedback from
some feedback there, and so we want to see if that's a consideration you want to look into, is to closing it off for parking at night.
Are you talking about just off of Ring Road area?
Ring and Pearl Orchard. Yes, sir, both locations.
Yes, too.
What time do we open the gates at the nature park? 7. 7. Do we have people that like to fish earlier than 7 down at Freeman Lake on that end of the lake?
Well, I do know that people do access it, and usually it's not so much in the mornings issue as it's of the evening. But it would be, I guess, closed off until whatever hour the parks would deem it to open.
That's what I wonder. If people go down there, because a lot of people fish real early in the morning, or I thought they did. Wonder if that would prevent them from getting down to the lake. What do you think?
In good weather, there are typically 1 or 2 fishermen who will be waiting at the front gate to get in. No more than that, certainly.
Not a great big.
No, I don't think that would impede.
Not on
Charlie may remember 7 or 8 years ago, Tim Walker and I proposed that we put a gate up on the north end, but then we decided it wouldn't do any good because at that time we didn't have those 4x4 posts, and they still could get in, and we didn't. So I think that's a tremendous idea. And our point was the vandalism that was done down here in the tunnel, and to keep people out. So I think that's a great idea, and certainly wouldn't hinder the fishermen. I don't think.
Of course, that north end does get a lot of use and a lot of
yes, it does.
Parking there. So we didn't want to assume that was going to be a good idea until we got some feedback from you all, because there are a lot of people who do utilize that.
And all it's done is securing the property in off hours.
Yeah,
that's basically all it's doing.
That's it.
Which is, I'm not saying that's all. I'm saying that's That's the purpose of it.
Yes, sir.
Which is,
Exactly.
which is a good thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Terry?
From vehicular traffic.
From vehicular traffic. There you go.
I think it's a good idea.
Speaking of gates, we have gates in front of the tunnels as well.
No.
No.
I like it.
Any questions?
No, I'd say it's probably a good idea.
Good idea.
Think about it, or you want to?
No, I think it's a
I
good
think it's a
idea.
good
I don't see
idea.
any downside to it.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's something we need to
I'd
do.
agree with it.
As long as we're working with Parks and
Go ahead
Rec,
and start
make
having
sure it works
conversations
for those guys.
Yeah.
As I said before, they may come up with even a better idea.
And just put it on the same routine as you do across the street there, where you open up the gates there in the morning, close them at night.
Thank you very much.
You must be Chris Buchanan. The only
We've run out of
person
people
didn't
just
know.
now. Except General Custer.
Yeah.
Other than General Custer, that's the only one left. It's not staff.
Today, Marty.
Let me say while Chris is passing those out is that I think most of you all are aware that with the discussion of, I guess, of the council about the possibility of demolition of at least part of the Newberry's building, that we've actually gotten several parties interested in the building here recently. Chris being one of those, and he's aware now that others have expressed an interest in it, but he wanted to come and he actually made this request several weeks ago to come and speak with the council about his interest, at least in the 100 East Dixie building. So again, he had asked to be able to do this. We talked about that this was the first day that we would have available, and obviously the council, if we have others that have serious interest, so you're going to have to come up with a way of deciding how you want to decide between competing proposals. So, go ahead, Chris.
So yeah, I'm the guy that's pretty much asking for the building or making the really low offer. Give you a little bit of background about me. I've worked for First Federal Savings Bank for 10 years. In between those 10 years, I've ventured off and had my own remodeling restoration business. And then the bank called me 3 years ago to come back and help manage their distressed foreclosed commercial properties. And so in the past 3 years, I've managed and sold over $42 million in commercial properties for them. So I've dealt with a lot of properties just like the Newberry, the J.J. Newberry building, mold, infested, asbestos, leaky roofs, all of that. Of course, now with the current situation of First Federal, I'm venturing back out. Not need to be said or anything, but so I've looked at the building before. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was rough back then, and it's getting rougher. And I don't think that the roof can stand another winter. So that's basically the reason why I made the low offer of $5,000. But as you go through the offer/business plan, you'll see where I've itemized all of the expenses that appear to accrue here. And besides these expenses, I also had some contingencies I listed as exceptions, and I've gone through and I've redlined the majority of them. Basically because I got with Charlie and Ed Pope. We all met with the state representatives, the Kentucky Heritage Council last week, and those folks were real helpful in handing out information. And so I've been working directly with them on all the ins and outs of the tax rebate, as well as they're very informative about the alcohol sales state requirements. So I've gone through there and removed pretty much all contingencies that come along with the building. Basically, I just want to make this offer. I want to let you know that I'm capable of handling this both financially and as far as the work that would be entailed. trying to think of anything else. I've supplied some floor plans in here. Did a little bit of Photoshop to the front of the building. I don't know if you can see the umbrellas on top of the roof.
Chris, what kind of business would this be?
And primarily, this will be an upscale, classy environment. I would call it a cafe, but it would have a bar, and we would serve alcohol and food. There would be a stage with live music, and live music would be probably the number one thing that everything would evolve around. I'm into music here locally. We play with a lot of other bands from Knoxville, Nashville, Cincinnati, and we want to kind of project that that artistry music level here in E-Town, and want to make it a family environment, a family-friendly environment. We don't want it to be another bar that people just come to get drunk at and get DUIs on their way home.
Well, if it's classy, that means none of us can be there, right?
Yes, yes, yes. These are possibilities. The materials I'm looking at doing. As far as the outside of the building, and I don't have enough to pass around here, but I've kind of done my my history here on what it actually looked like back in 1930. The upstairs, the second floor, was completely the same size as the downstairs. I don't know if it had a fire or what, but when it was it a fire? But when it was redone in the 40s, I think, you know, they gave it the glass window shop look. So I'm thinking 40s, 50s is really the only theme that you can kind of go with on the outside. I was wanting to make it turn of the century type of architecture, but it just doesn't have that same architecture design that the rest of the buildings downtown have. However, the inside, I do want to continue to make it turn of the century, rough hardwood flooring, candelabra chandeliers, the tall baseboard and dental mold crown molding trim.
I hope that brick you can use as exposed brick.
I'm hoping that if I get the building and tear some drywall out of there, we can see some nice rough exposed brick. But now I've just learned today that we've got other interested parties.
Well, that
Well,
brings into response your item number 10 in your line items, that you would need a response in 3 days.
well, I put that, and I know how fast you guys move. Now, now I'm assuming this is probably how you guys work. You meet on a Monday like today. You discuss issues. The next Monday you vote on them. Is that correct? Or you vote on a certain amount of them?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If what it takes is to wait till the next voting day, then I'd be prepared to wait.
Well, the problem is that if we have other parties that are interested, we have to allow them a certain amount of time to do the same thing that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to.
We don't.
I don't think legally we have to.
No,
we
I
don't.
don't think there's.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But Charlie is saying that he is fielding some inquiries from other interested parties. So I think we probably need to at least, I will say this though. This is exactly, ideas is what we're looking for. I mean, this is exactly, we want somebody to come with us and say, here's an idea. Here's an idea for downtown. Here's an idea for economic development. Here's an idea to move forward. But we just have to make sure that what we do, in my opinion, is part of the grand plan. That's the thing that we don't have ironed out yet, is what is our grand scheme of things for downtown?
Well, and you talk about what brings people downtown. It's music, food, and drink.
Yeah,
That's what's going to
that's
bring
true.
them downtown, and you're going to have all three here.
And our band played Thursday night. I don't know if any of you were there at the Tavern in the Garden, but it was a huge turnout. Were you there? It seemed like there was 100 people there.
There were tour, well, we had
counted
80 to 85 on the tour. We had another, probably 90 to 100 in the garden. You know, it was bigger than it's ever been so far.
So I really do want to be a part of that. I will tell you that how I came up with the purchase price is I basically went to the PVA website. I looked at the recent buildings that have sold downtown that are about the same square foot, and 250,000, the tax assessment, to 300,000 is about the rough estimate compared to this 4,600 square feet. So with the amount accrued here in repairs, I just don't see. I mean, I love the building. I want it. I want you guys to give it to me for $5,000, but I just don't see it being worth more in the long run by the time you fix it up.
Charlie, you talked about that you have the finances to pay the $5,000 to do the building expenses and get it all going. Do you have the operating capital to operate after you get to that point too?
No, and I meant to bring the bank statement and letter of credit tonight. I have the finances to get it to that point of occupation, but I've got a list of people who want to come on board, and I just have to decide which one that I want to.
I'm not trying to get in your business, but
Yeah.
you know, your financial business, but you know, it's important for us to. We would be better off to hold this than to sell it to you. You do this and then go out because you don't have the operating capital to keep it going once you got it going. And so I think that overall, that's an important aspect.
Yeah.
Not
But
to get it to that point, but to be able to sustain it until you build that business to go.
But see, I'm looking at this in increments. The first business decision is to get the real estate back up to where it should be.
Right.
And whether, you know, I belly up or whatever, it's going to be worth way more than what it is now. You know.
Do we have the option? Would you give it back to us if you buy it for $5,000, fix it up, doesn't work?
For what I've got in it, yeah.
Well, no, I understand what Marty's saying.
I'd sell it to you for what we got in it.
No, I think
I understand what you're saying.
I understand what Marty's saying.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, because ultimately we are, for lack of a better term, we are the downtown development.
We're part development
right now. Whether we want to be in that or not, I think we should. I think it benefits the city. It's not necessarily our expertise, but at the same time, if, you know.
But you know, when you really think about it, that's the case with anything that goes in down
Right.
there.
Well, no, it is. Yeah. No.
I can only see this thing improving from the time the ink dries.
I do like your plan. I appreciate it.
If I were Chris, more than being concerned with how quick can the council consider this proposal, I would be more concerned with, after I get this done, how quick can you all finish the development of downtown? Because my fear is that you get a nice opportunity downtown, and while they're waiting for the rest of the downtown to be redeveloped, they starve.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's what.
Having faith in the clientele of this city. Is that what you mean? Is that what you mean?
I mean, it's just like what Marty said. That the first guy on the block is going to have certain advantages. He's also going to have some disadvantages.
Yeah.
Because he's got to wait for everybody else to get down there and catch up with him before.
But
Now,
you know
you-
what, though? Have you seen what we got down here right now? Folks, we got a Western shop. We got a boutique. I mean, we are.
And Roxy's.
We're doing, I mean, we're.
She's rolling.
Yeah, a couple studios going now.
Mhm.
We are a whole lot better for you right now than we were even a couple months ago.
Yeah. When that you asked about the operating capital, the last resort for me would be it's complete. Now let's get it refinanced.
Yeah.
And I would use that equity to run the business.
Okay.
And Chris, I don't want you to tell us detail on your business, but from what I understand and what I've heard, and I think you did mention that a minute ago, but there's several influential people in this community, very financially well off, that is wanting to go on board with you.
Yeah, that's best
Be
friend.
involved
Yeah,
in this.
yeah.
So I mean,
And one of them
they
happens to
talked
be
me
my
about it.
very dear friend. Yeah, yeah.
Talk to me about it. But I don't think that would be a problem. But and something else, I don't know if you mentioned it or not, about the roof, the way you were going to do that. I saw where you named. Is it going to be called the Rooftop Cafe?
I just threw that on there just to give us something to bite on.
Because that
But
was really cool. If you all remember, the one's been around here for years, the old Moo Dairy Queen, like that, and that was really cool the way he was talking about the
Yeah.
plans.
Yes.
On
You
top
could
of
eat
that,
on the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, if everything went as planned, do you have any time schedule in mind as to
Yeah,
what you would shoot for?
and I've got in there 4 to 6 months for completion.
Okay.
I would definitely want to get that roof done before the winter comes, and I can see probably operation beginning of spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you are talking about a rooftop cafe where you can actually set up on the roof.
Sit on the roof, and I've got designs on the very last page. If you look at the IPA deck roof decking, it is a thick rubber bottom that sits on top of your asphalt or rubber roof. Instead of building a floating frame out of treated plywood, which is very heavy, this stuff, it's expensive, but it's like the best way to go. It's less wear and tear on the flat roof system.
Hey, Charlie,
Neat idea.
you said there was other inquiries, but somebody suggested that maybe we want to talk to the other inquiries, but I'm asking how serious are those inquiries, because here we've got a guy who's gone out of his way, he's made the presentation, he wants to do the deal, and from my point of view, what's stopping us from going ahead and dealing with Mr. Buchanan now?
I echo those because he had an idea. He's here. He's presented his. Somebody heard that he had that idea. Now everybody else is interested. I think that's unfair to him. He's kind of laid out his deal.
Yeah.
I don't know that's because we did not request proposals for the Mulberry Building. Okay, we have an individual who has come and said, "Hey, I've got a plan for this, and I'm interested." And we go, "Oh, good plan. Now let's see if we can milk it. Take your idea and milk it out here for somebody else." I don't know that that's fair to him.
Well, that's what I was saying a while ago. The council has to decide how it's going to address his proposal versus if you allow other proposals at this point. We don't have any other proposals in hand. We just know that we have people who have expressed interest, other people who have looked at the building.
I thought you said we did have some.
We don't have proposals. We have people that have expressed interest, have looked at the building, made inquiries, have somebody that wants to come back this week and take another look, much as Chris has developed his interest in it. So that's entirely your all's decision. But if you wanted to allow it to be opened up, now Chris, as you say, he's kind of exposed his plans. I would say that at least one of the others has spoken of similar plans, but again hasn't presented anything. Then if you wanted to do that, then I think at the very least you go ahead and put a time limit. Say, here, we're going to accept proposals until this time. If you want us to do that informally or formally,
Charlie, can I interrupt you, man?
Yes, sir.
This is a real estate deal. Shouldn't we talk about this in closed session?
Closed session, that's
Instead of right here in front of everybody?
I would feel comfortable had this been discussed in closed session where his proposal was not exposed as public information. And then if we had decided to take other proposals, then that would have been appropriate because his work would not have been given out there. We have done him a disservice by doing that.
This was at Chris's request, though.
I think but he doesn't necessarily know the laws that we have to operate under. So I think we should maybe advise him that it would have been better in a closed session.
Okay, that's an option. You don't have to, just so I can clarify that.
Yeah, I know we
That's
don't
certainly an
have to,
option.
but this is a real estate thing, and if we're going to go,
Here's the thing about it. We've got other people that's expressed interest, and we need to make sure that we do the best thing for the city of Elizabethtown and the citizens of Elizabethtown. I really think we need to talk about this in closed session because we've got a lot of options here to look at.
I agree.
And I don't think we should decide tonight, even though I know you need an answer as soon as possible.
But we can't decide tonight anyway.
No, we can't.
We can't.
But like I said, I think we do need to be in closed session and decide, since it's a real estate matter, how we're going to handle it.
I agree. And our policy has been to open up, yes. I agree. I would prefer not to make a decision.
Well, and you got to remember too, if there are other people with similar ideas, there's probably gonna be other properties available.
That's exactly.
And there's, we've got a lot of
Our property's
opportunities.
not taken up downtown yet.
We've got an awful lot of opportunities.
I don't know, but they're going fast.
But maybe
They
what,
are going fast.
maybe what we ought to start threatening to tear down other properties, and it'll bring people to come by.
Would this closed session meeting involve me or involve you guys alone?
I think you can make a presentation just like you did to us.
And let me reiterate that it's been over a month now since I made the offer, and I've just weekly continued to update my offer. So I would appreciate an answer very soon.
And Chris, I would just say, from my standpoint, I think the closed session, you said, would it involve you? I think the question has been asked about what assurances could we have. I think at that point, we might be interested in some financial information.
I can provide it tomorrow. I meant to bring it tonight, and I just.
Do that next week.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, don't provide it tomorrow, but,
Right.
do it in closed session.
In closed session,
And then
right.
it's protected,
Okay.
Exactly.
These are open records now.
Okay.
This way we can get all the answers out that we need and make a decision, because I know you need that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You guys know how to get a hold of me?
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the council? The remaining audience? Faithful ones who
So
have hung in
Ed
here?
nodding off there a while ago.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Shh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute, I can't hear him. Go ahead.
The Elizabeth Town Special Response Team needed in a Fort Knox SRT competition every
Right, great.
Mayor,
Thank you.
if I may, we had a situation at the Hardin County Fair with some theft of some air conditioners and some supports to the bleachers. And we contacted the appropriate law enforcement agency. But it was with the help of the Elizabethtown Police Department that we have been able to, we believe, nab the ones that were responsible for that. And I can honestly say that had it not been the help of E-Town Police Department, we wouldn't have gotten that. I am so appreciative of Jamie Land and Chief Schiller and the group down there that provided instantly, immediately, was able to come up with a suspect that we had on camera. So even though it wasn't their jurisdiction, they partnered with us to help that. So hats off to Clint and Pete, rather. Yeah, Pete.
Yeah. Oh,
Pete.
yeah.
Pete was a bulldog on it, so we appreciate that.
That's certainly business friendly between the city and the county.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the fair.
And the fair.
Fair,
Appreciate it.
absolutely, Marty. I mean,
So when
Chief.
we annex the fairgrounds
That's
into the
right.
city,
Absolutely.
Water District 2 is already there, and we'll have
It just amazes me, the business friendly.
Mayor, I would say too, last week I was on vacation, but I want to tell you something. Social media went crazy over this thing with the planning commission. And, my immediate response would be this. We have a good group of people that come to these city council meetings. We need more. This room should be 3 or 4 times this size. Because a lot of people that are complaining about issues in town, not all of them, but some of them are retired and they actually have time to come to some of these meetings. And I would encourage that when people have gripes or complaints, that the first thing they do is to call the planning commission, find out when their next meeting is, even ask what the agenda is. And the reason why I'm saying that is I'm the liaison on the planning commission. And it is amazing to me how much time and effort that these commissioners put into these very complicated, comprehensive plans that to me it's kind of boring, but they just pour over it and over it and over it. And to say that anybody on the planning commission or the planning, the commissioners or the planning commission office, it's ludicrous to think that we don't want business. That's what we're all here for. It's just not, it doesn't make, to me, it doesn't compute. There's a disconnect there. And I think all of us as council members and all of us as city employees can simply say, please come to our meetings. If you're interested in this, come to our meetings and find out what's going on. Because that meeting of the planning commission, it was an open meeting. You don't have to participate. You don't have to talk. You don't have to sign your name in unless you're going to participate in one of the hearings, but you can sit in the meeting and hear everything that's going on.
Jerry, I
Make
agree
your
with-
own decision.
I agree with you 100%, and we have always said that, but some things never change.
Yeah.
That's
You know, all
not
you
gonna
have to
change.
do is look how many businesses have opened
Yes.
here.
Yes.
in even the last 5 years.
I mean, that's,
And you see how hard our planning
That's
you
right.
know, and
development.
what is all of our, almost all of our conversations and our efforts are consumed by quality of life issues, keep taxes as low as possible, provide a safe place for people to live, and bring as many jobs as we can. I mean, that's what we always talk about.
Yeah.
And then to hear comments from citizens that says we're not
Not
business
business
friendly,
friendly.
that's all, you know what that is? That's just talk.
Right.
That's what
Sure
that
it is.
That's just talk. But we need to encourage them to come to our meetings whenever they can, and find out for themselves what goes on at some of these meetings. Because
And,
there's
and,
a lot of
and
work.
most, 99% of the time, the only time they come is when it directly
affects
affects
them.
them. That's right.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah, it
I
could
agree.
be. But, I mean, you know, when I first came on board down here, I addressed that with Mr. Pope, and I said, you know, I hear this and I hear this. And he assured me that if anybody had a problem, that he would hand walk them through every step of the way. And there's no doubt in it. I think you do a good job. We ready?
Tony's not being very council friendly.
Are we adjourned?
I think so.
No, you're right.
You know, what this is really like.
I'll make sure I understand what the.
But I think